For more than a decade, he moved through California like a shadow. He broke into homes at night, watched families, waited, then he attacked with calculated control. By the time he disappeared, at least 13 people were dead. More than 50 women had been assaulted. Over 100 homes had been burglarized. Police did not know his name. They gave him several instead. The East Area Rapist, the original Night Stalker. Eventually, decades later, the Golden State Killer. For 40 years, he remained unidentified. And then a genealogy website helped solve one of the most infamous crime sprees in American history. To understand how that happened, we need to go back to the 1970s. California suburbs were expanding rapidly. Quiet neighborhoods promised safety. Families believed distance from big cities meant protection. That illusion did not last. In 1976, a series of home invasions began in the Sacramento area. The offender demonstrated preparation and discipline. He prowled neighborhoods beforehand, studied routines, entered homes silently. He tied victims up, controlled the situation, threatened violence if anyone resisted. The crimes were calculated. Investigators quickly realized they were hunting someone highly organized. But policing in the 1970s was fragmented. Departments across counties rarely shared information efficiently. There was no digital database linking cases. The killer exploited those gaps. As attacks continued, fear spread through entire communities. Neighborhood watch groups formed overnight. Residents slept with lights on and weapons nearby. Then, suddenly, the attacks in Northern California stopped. Months later, murders began hundreds of miles away in Southern California. Different cities, different investigators. No connection made. The crimes continued until 1986. Then the killer vanished. Years passed. Detectives retired. Evidence sat inside storage boxes, but one piece of evidence refused to fade: DNA. By the 1990s, forensic technology advanced enough for scientists to develop a genetic profile from crime scene samples. They had the killer's biological signature. They just didn't have his identity. Traditional DNA databases only work if a suspect has previously been arrested and entered into the system. This killer had not. For decades, investigators had a genetic fingerprint with no name attached. The case became a haunting mystery, and this is exactly the kind of investigation we explore here. Stories where science, history, and crime collide. If you want more deep investigations like this, subscribe to Hidden Zero, because some of the biggest mysteries in history were not solved by luck. They were solved by persistence and technology. Now back to the case. In the 2010s, something unexpected happened. Millions of people began sending their DNA to genealogy companies. They wanted to trace their ancestry, find distant relatives, build family trees. Websites like GetMatch allowed users to upload raw DNA data and connect with relatives across the world. In 2018, investigators made a controversial decision. They uploaded the Golden State Killer's DNA profile into one of those genealogy databases. They were not looking for the killer. They were looking for his relatives. The system returned distant matches. Third cousins, fourth cousins. At first, that might seem useless. But genealogists can build enormous family trees from distant relatives. Using public records, census data, and historical documents, investigators slowly mapped out entire family networks. Thousands of names became hundreds, hundreds became dozens, dozens became a few possible suspects. Eventually, one name stood out: Joseph James D'Angelo. Born in 1945, former police officer. Lived in the exact regions where the crimes occurred during the correct years. Investigators began watching him. They retrieved DNA from discarded items outside his home. The genetic profile matched. After 40 years, the mystery finally had a name. In April 2018, police arrested Joseph D'Angelo outside his suburban Sacramento home. The image shocked the public. An elderly man, white hair, quiet neighborhood. For decades he had lived an ordinary life. Meanwhile, investigators were still chasing the shadow he left behind. In 2020, D'Angelo pleaded guilty to multiple counts of murder and kidnapping. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole. There was no dramatic trial, just confirmation. For victims and families, the arrest closed a chapter that had haunted them for decades. But the story did not end there. The Golden State Killer case introduced a powerful new investigative method, forensic genealogy. By combining DNA analysis with family tree research, investigators could identify suspects who had never been arrested. Cold cases once considered impossible began reopening across the country. Murders from the 1970s and 1980s suddenly had new leads. The implications were enormous, but so were the ethical questions. Millions of people had uploaded their DNA for family history, not criminal investigations. Did law enforcement have the right to access those databases? After the arrest, genealogy websites changed their policies. Some required users to opt in before police could access genetic data. The case forced society to confront a difficult balance: privacy or justice. For the families of victims, the answer felt obvious. For civil liberties advocates, the conversation had only begun. One thing, however, became clear: the era of anonymous serial killers was ending. In the past, a criminal could disappear into time. Now, their DNA could wait silently inside an evidence locker until technology caught up. Joseph D'Angelo believed he had outrun his crimes. What he never expected was that millions of strangers submitting their DNA for ancestry research would eventually expose him. He wasn't caught by a witness. He wasn't caught by a confession. He was caught by science. And that moment changed criminal investigation forever.